Another episode of the
Recorded.
Shit Podcast. Episode, I think this is episode 7, I want to say.
6 or 7, I should know
I
that
want to
number.
say 7. I think it's
But
7.
I think this format of just chatting probably actually works better. Just
You're in a
see where
different location today, I've just noticed.
I'm in the same one, however, I've painted a wall and moved stuff around. So there's nothing on the walls at the moment. There will be
Okay.
stuff
Alright.
up for next time. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So,
Yeah. Not that
like,
you'd be
lived
able
in
to
this
see
place-
any of it.
Yeah,
'Cause, like, you can't see any
exactly.
of it. Actually, if I put my hand in front of it, you can kind of
You kind of just get it cut in. Yeah.
a little bit, yeah.
I've lived in this place for
Yeah.
like a year and bought all of the stuff that I needed straight away to decorate it and make it look the way that we wanted. And like it's a year later and we've started this week.
That sounds about right.
That's just how stuff
Yeah.
goes, isn't it? So
Thing is, if you've
completely
got
looked
like,
at everything, changed our minds.
I mean, if you're planning on being there for a while, you'd be alright.
That's it.
It's fine. Like,
So yeah,
you can take your time with it.
exactly.
Yeah, cool, man.
Exactly. So yeah,
So,
what's been up to this week?
I had a good climbing session last night. Because I've had a bit of past week. I've on and off. I've been having like elbow tendonitis or tennis elbow, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure it is quite tennis elbow, but
Yeah.
it's anyway like in the insertions around here on each side. It's been killing me. Like these are the past week. I haven't been climbing since last Wednesday, and I haven't done any like pull-ups in my program like I'd usually do. So I'm just taking some time off with that. Went climbing last night. It was fine, so that's good. But I'm still going to I'm going to be doing pull-ups on Friday, but I'm not going to do them. Still just going to chill and then start bringing them back in next week. But yeah, climbing was good. I got a couple of good boulders done last night. I'll probably, to be fair, I can send them to you and we can pop them over this. There's one that is this purple one that involved this really big like coordination dyno. So you have to pull off basically from super low down, pull, step the left foot high, and then wedge with your right hand quite high up. It's really strange. It took me probably 20-25 tries, but really satisfying boulder, that one. Yeah, no, it was a good session though. It's good to be back because I was worried. I was just like, shit, how long, is this going to be one of those injuries that just keep going on for ages?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's actually kind of sorted itself out quite a bit. So I'm hoping that if I just take it easy going back in, it should be fine. But yeah,
that's
my life.
That's the way to kind of deal with any injury is just work around it and manage it.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
think
case of bopping.
we're always really like, even as a PT, like I can't like, if I was giving this advice to someone else, I'd be like, yeah, take the time off, take it easy. But we never follow our own advice.
So
Because we're like,
100%.
fuck it, like, we'll do what we want to do. We never follow our own advice. So we're always just like
100% agree.
yeah, I've got a PT myself and be like, right, if I was someone who came to me with this problem, what would I suggest? And just follow that, and then just bite the bullet a little bit.
I always give people 2 bits of advice. One of them is pay now rather than pay later, because when you pay later, it's going to be a lot worse. So if you need to take a week off now, or you need to take 2 weeks off now to recover something, do it. Because if you just continue to work through it, 6 months down the line, it's probably going to go and it's going to be a lot worse. It might be a month off or 6 weeks, whatever it is. And the other piece of advice I always give people is that when you think it's better, give it one more day. The day you think I can do it today, give it another 24 hours. Me, I ignore all of that advice, exactly like you said. It's like, I can work through it. I'm invincible. I can work around it.
But what's weird is when you've been training for long enough, you do find sometimes there is stuff you have like go wrong and you train through it and it turns out to be okay. So it's like, it's weird how it works sometimes. Like sometimes you have like a pain for a couple of days and it's really odd. And then you train through it, do exactly the same as normal, and it just goes. So it's finding that weird kind of like, you don't know until you actually try and train with it until like how bad
100%. It's like I know my body well enough to know what is a serious injury and what's a niggle that I can work through, I can work around and that kind of thing. And it's very, very rare now that something is going to actually just put me on my back and then take me out of training a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. A great example is this week, actually, my ankle is aching quite a lot. It's not bad, it's not swollen, I haven't done anything to it, but I've obviously got that history of rolling it twice in the sort of last 6 months. And for whatever reason, it's just a little bit painful this week. And I think it's probably because I've been running a little bit more trails than usual. It's no stress. All I'm going to do is just deload from my running slightly for a week, and focus on some other areas. Just focus on enjoying my training this week. My next event isn't even until the end of July. So just taking a tiny bit of downtime this week from the stimulus of running, getting back into it next week once that little ache has kind of sort of surpassed. And I'll be absolutely fine going forward. What I don't need to do is just go, yeah, my ankle's screwed, I'm done for the week, because I'm not. All I'll do is just shift my focus. This week, actually, what I've been doing is just trying to enjoy myself a little bit more. The sun's out, so been surfing already this week, and just got to enjoy my fitness a little bit more, and sort of sit out there and just enjoy what's going on around me a little bit more. Go to the gym, do some strength with no clear plan of what I want to do. It's like, do you know what? I feel like today I could probably just do some legs. I'm going to do some legs. And that's what I did yesterday. Today, it's like, well, I'm going to do some upper body. I'm just going to get there and see how busy the gym is and see what I can do and just work around it.
What time are you going in? 12:30?
12:30, yeah.
Yeah, it might be all right.
It's hit or miss.
It's Wednesday, so it's like... Yeah. I don't know, it's Wednesday, so you might be all right.
But and I think that's a really good way of just training sometimes. It's just, just take the stress out of it and just train intuitively. I did a session yesterday, which I literally made up on the fly. So I know that with some obstacle course races coming up, I really need to work on my grip strength. I know that I'm strong enough overhead, but I was like, well, what can I do for grip? And it's like, I just did like a 20-minute AMRAP, so as many reps as possible. Loaded the bar up quite light, and it was 5 reps deadlift, 5 reps front squat, 5 reps push press, 5 reps power clean, and then 5 reps back squat. And the idea is to not let go of the bar as little as possible. So try and go through that entire 20 minutes as close to unbroken as you can. Because it's a lightweight, you should be able to bust the reps out, and your muscle endurance should be absolutely fine. But the idea is to just hold on to that bar for as long as possible. And then obviously any time that you do drop the bar, to get straight back on it as quickly as possible. So I'm kind of getting that full body sort of stimulus, because it's high rep. I mean, like ultimately 20 minutes of those, you're very quickly up into hundreds of reps. So the muscle endurance is there. The key thing for me was just holding onto that bar for 20 minutes. And just building that. And it was just a really fun, pressure-free session, because I could just enjoy it for, like, say, 20 minutes and take the worry off about, like, did I hit this weight? Did I do this? Did I get this stimulus out? Have I picked what I've got on my spreadsheet for the week or whatever it might be? And I think sometimes it's just fun to go and do that.
Yeah. I do love a spreadsheet. I love a spreadsheet. I've got like 3 years worth of like spreadsheets on my phone, like legit. I'm gonna see if I can actually like show what my spreadsheet for my workout looks like. But like I cut like color coding everything as well. Like I plan out my weeks and everything. I just like, I find it so hard to like, because it's so much. I do this with everything though, because I have so much like information in my head. I just like, if I can just like put it down on paper, it makes it so much easier for me. So I have like all workouts written down, and then the days of the week, and then color coding like what days, then writing all the fucking, all the workouts and the stuff and all the results and shit like that, everything.
Right.
Every number for the past 3 years is written down basically like that.
I can't show you my phone because I'm chatting. I'm just going to turn it to show you my desktop. Pretty similar.
Oh yeah, sound. Yeah, literally. Yeah, love it.
Literally goes through day by day what I'm going to do.
Day by day, yeah. I just have to know. Like I can't. Yeah, I just find it. Yeah, I find it blows my mind the amount of people that don't write their numbers down.
Yeah.
Like it's like how do you like just keep track of everything? Like how do you know if like you can look I can look back on like everything from this year from beginning to end, like on the past 2 mesos, and know exactly how much progress I've made. I mean, you could argue, I guess, that like, well, you're clearly doing more weight than you did before, so clearly you've made progress. But like, it's the same reason why you go on a scale and like weigh yourself when you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
So you have the data. Like you need, like, I feel like I just need fucking data. I just want data.
100%. It's the same reason. Like I've got my Garmin here, for example. It's the same reason I track all of my runs, so I know what my pace K is. I know what my PRs at 5, 10, 21, etc. And I know these things, and measure them. And the key thing, I think this becomes more important, not in those early stages of training, but in the later, more experienced years, when your percentages are going to change. So in that, let's say your first 12 months, your progress is just, it's going to be going upwards the entire time. You might plateau within that time, but generally you should see an upward trend over 12 months of kind of, well, everything, if you're consistent. As you get older, or not so much as you get older, but as you get more experienced and you're doing these things, those percentages are going to get smaller, and that linear progression going upwards is going to get lower and lower. And it gets to the point where, like, I'll use a 5K as an example. I'm no longer talking about chipping off minutes from my 5K. I'm talking about chipping off seconds, if that sometimes. Lifting, it's like, let's say a newbie lifter starts the year and they can only lift the Olympic bar and a squat 20 kilo. By the end of that year, they could probably, let's say they got to 60. Okay, so there you go.
Probably, honestly, probably more than that.
It's going to be loads more. Yeah,
like, it's going to be loads more. Like, you could go from 20. You could honestly get near to 100K if you were doing it consistently.
100%.
Like, for a year.
Yeah. Like, but for the sake of like just making up numbers, let's say they've got from 20 to 60. Now, as they get more into it, let's say they get to that 100. Now, that is like 80K of progress. Now, as they get more experience and as those lifts get heavier, it's going to be more like 1 kilo, 2 kilos, 2.5 kilos of progress, as opposed to that massive 80K of progress. And I think that's where the tracking is really important. It's just understanding. Like, I managed to do 2 sets at 102.5. So, right, what could I do at 1? Could I do like 105 out for 1 rep, and so on. And I think that is just where you should be really, really aware of your numbers, and just where you're tracking those small changes, because like I say, it's really easy at the beginning to just get carried away with the fact that you are going to progress. The more experience you get, the lower those progressions come.
The lower that goes up. No, you're right. It does start getting to it does start becoming a tiny bit of a numbers game.
It really does. It really does.
To be honest, I was just saying, but it's nice to when you see like practical training in the gym pay off. So like I've been doing this meso. I've been doing, generally I do like a with my plyometric stuff. I think I've only just I think I'm gonna get into this habit now where I do like for my vertical jump right now. I'm doing single leg, and then for horizontal, I'm doing double leg. I think I'm going to swap that over in the next meso. So the next meso, I'll be doing single leg where I'm going horizontally and vertically with the bilateral. So this meso, I'm doing single leg vertical. So I basically just get in a box and I literally hover my foot above it, and I drive into the box as hard as I can and just drive. I think you might have even seen me doing it.
I know.
Just driving up as high as I can. And it's funny because like literally there's a problem in the bouldering gym currently that I came across yesterday, and it literally requires running, pushing off of one leg and driving and grabbing these 2 giant volumes. And I was like, this is literally almost what I've been training for exactly. Like so many people were trying it and just couldn't do it. And I was just like, that single leg power I've just been working on is just really paying off. It's like that boulder was put there just to test to see where that
just
progress.
For that,
So it's great to see that shit pay off. So it's like the same principle you're saying with all that grip training you've been doing and all the AMRAPs and stuff you were doing yesterday. It's like when you then go and do the races you're going to do and you see that actually pay off, it's like the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, like, it absolutely is. I'm a huge believer, and this comes from my fighting, is that it's absolutely fine to fail and it's absolutely fine to lose, providing you deserve those losses and those failures. And what I mean by that is, if I've trained for a fight and I put all of my effort into it and I've done all the things that I could to be my best for that fight, and the person on the day beats me because they're just better or everything's swung in their direction, but I know that I left everything out there, that's absolutely fine. Is when you just can't be bothered training, you can't be bothered to actually, you just take it for granted that you can go through there and storm it. And I think that's a real kind of key thing here, is it's that I can go into my training knowing that I've been training for the event I'm doing, or training to the test as it was, and I put all the effort into doing it, and hopefully on the day that shouldn't fail. But if I get there and it does fail, then that's okay. It's like I did my best in training to mimic the stimulus that I was going to need to pass that event, but for whatever reason on the day I didn't. But the thing is that loss isn't a defeat. It's just the chance to go back, learn what you did wrong, and then go back next time and smash it. Now, hopefully, with experience, I know the things that I need to do to not fail those things going forward. Hence why, obviously, now kind of 6 weeks out of an event or 8 weeks from an event, I'm starting to focus on the grip and so on. So I should be absolutely prepped for it. But you're absolutely right. It's so good when you've done everything that you need to do in training. You get there on the day and you can just do it. It just comes natural, and you just absolutely storm through it. 100%. Just thinking about what you were sort of saying there as well, I think I'm probably going to introduce a very similar movement into my training, because again, with obstacle course races, we've got a lot of walls to clear, 7 and 8 foot walls and things like that. So it just ties up perfectly, being able to explode up, grab, and then pull over.
Yeah.
Like, I think
get some of those explosive pull-ups in. If you want the fingerboards, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like they are.
Probably
I mean, I think I don't know how much, like, I don't know where, like, how much finger strength is going to fit in too much with you. Like, you kind of just need, like, it's maybe a little too specific. Yeah, you maybe don't really need, like, I don't know how much you need finger strength, like, for it.
There are some obstacles, especially a Spartan race, where there is almost little bouldering grips. There's one obstacle that probably actually ties in quite nicely. It's called Z wall, and basically it's a flat wall in the shape of a Z. Yep. Right. And all you've got is so I think they changed it recently, but all you've basically got is some bouldering grips along the top, but they're not actual normal bouldering grips. They're essentially just square or rectangle chunk grips,
and
they're probably about an inch deep. You just have to pinch them and get yourself around. That's quite a nice one, but because it's a Z shape.
Yeah, sorry.
I'd say
you could always just pinch. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, because it's a Z shape, you're obviously on one of them, you're going inwards, and then you need to reach across because you're on the inside of the Z. But then the other side, you've got to reach around the Z as it was. Yeah, so it's quite a nice obstacle actually. But again, it comes down to that one's just pure grip strength, because obviously your feet, you need to keep your feet dug into the flat wall, because the moment you touch the ground, you're off the obstacle, and it's 30 burpees, which none of us want to do.
No, I say you could always try just pinching bumper plates.
Yeah, great.
Just get like one of the 10 or 15, just pinch it as hard as you can. Because but then again, I guess you're going to be like quite flat fingered on the top of it, right? So if anything, it might actually be quite good to train that position a little bit. So maybe
I think so.
Useful. We're trying to get a hangboard, and we do have a hangboard in the gym that we're trying to get set up.
Yeah, I will.
That'll be elite.
That'd be awesome. I'll fire across photos and I'll probably overlay some on here just to show exactly what that obstacle looks like. Yeah,
we could see. Yeah, because that's one of the things I'm slowly getting better at in the Born Gym is those pinchy holds. We have to actually pinch them like this. Because it's just that the width is just it's just so defeating having that kind of width. It's that and slopey stuff as well. I'm not very good at, but yeah, pinchy holds can be can be really rough.
Nice. Yeah.
I don't know how is it quite high? Are you quite down underneath it, or is it
if
here?
I was stood against the wall, I would say it's probably not much taller than me. So I need to hold my own weight this, kind of about here.
Horrible. Yeah, that's the worst
and I need to also keep my feet off the floor. I can use the wall for my feet, but my feet can't touch the floor.
Right. So, wait, so is there footholds?
That's what they've changed. There used to be footholds, and now what they've done is they've staggered them. So it's a case of there are footholds, but they're not close. It's not kind of like hands feet, hands.
That's it's a proper traverse. Yeah, that's a horrible traverse, because you'd hope it'd be above so you could at least hang a little bit, but that's you're at the angle of peeling off. So that's that's horrible. Yeah, that is rough. Yeah.
And of course, if you're and that's usually probably midway in a race. They're always quite well positioned. So if you think that's probably about 9 to 10k into a race, so you're already kind of slightly fatigued. You would have already done some work. It's a hard one. And of course, for me, I tend to just really dig my legs into the wall and try to go with that.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, cool. No, that's fair. I mean, I don't know if you because you could always have like holds that either stick out, but you could also have holes that like for your feet that kind of dig in, like they're embossed in the wall.
Yeah,
that would be kind of interesting, because then you have but then again you'll be angled out then, because you'll be gripping here and under there, so you would then
your
be
feet,
kind of angled out. So that would probably make it worse.
Yeah, I think they're probably thinking about it, because there's 30 obstacles over 21k, and there are quite a few that I think probably cross over with you. What I'm going to do is go through the list actually and see what ones I could probably use your skills to
yeah, maybe on. Yeah, I'll see some of them. Yeah, because some of them will just have climbing connotation.
Yeah, 100%. And there's a lot of them where, again, we've kind of touched on this before, where it's fitness and physical ability that gets me through, as opposed to skill. So from the outside, it would not look pretty.
Right.
Like that one I've just talked about. Like a boulderer could probably look at it and see the problem there. For me, it's just like I'm going to go through with just strength and
muscle through it. Yeah,
just muscle through it. Yeah. But it's relatively small. But by the end of it, I'm blown up. Whereas I can imagine somebody who's got good climbing skills is going to get through that quite smoothly. And there's a lot of things like that where I will muscle through it or kind of fitness through it, but blow up as a result, because I'm not trained in that one thing. And I think that's where like kind of actually getting down into the specifics of things sometimes can be really, really good.
Yeah, that's where like specialization can be nice, but then could also be like, I remember, I think there's a lot of videos on YouTube of like climbers going into like the Ninja Warrior competitions and just like making it look easy. Like,
yeah,
it's just like not even funny. Like it's just like they just find that stuff like a piece of piss. So
it's funny because with obstacle course racing, there's a lot of obstacle course guys that transitioned over to Ninja Warrior, and you got a lot of Ninja Warrior guys that transitioned over to obstacle course racing. But what ultimately happens is they go back to where they started, and the reason for that is the Ninja Warrior courses and these kind of short obstacle course races. And I don't mean a kind of means that it's a short set of obstacles, but it's a short course. So it works well for the boulderers because they can just go from one to the next to the next. When they've transitioned of like obstacle course racing, where suddenly there's those obstacles but spread out over like 10, 15, 20k, it's no longer their domain. So they're amazing on the obstacles, but then you take them into the running element. That's where they kind of obviously fall down. They're not at the top of it. And then it's the same for like the obstacle course guys, who a lot of obstacle course racers are like, they're kind of like, they're those relative high level runners, but who never made it as a runner. So they've kind of found this niche sport of obstacle course racing where they can get further up the talent.
Okay,
talent. And they'll go over and try Ninja Warrior, for example, or these short course obstacle runs. And what's happening there is they're just getting absolutely smashed. They're getting through all of the obstacles, but then you've got like a boulderer or somebody that's been training Ninja, and they're just flying through them. And it's like one person's getting through like the course in like 9-10 seconds, whereas the obstacle course guys comfortably getting through it, but 3 times slower, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's weird with stuff like Ninja Warrior, because it's like, unless you have an actual Ninja Warrior gym, you can't mimic the challenges.
No.
So you have to build strength, pretty much. Just do strength training, and like I guess a little bit of stuff like climbing training, I guess, would be the closest. But like, unless you know what the course is going to be when you turn up, you have no idea what to expect. So you just have to like almost come up with stuff on the fly. Like you don't know how like one of the challenges is going to feel until you're on it. So a lot of it would have to be intuition. Like
it's the flow of them as well, because obviously when you practice those courses, you've obviously been to Ninja Warrior Gym, I've been to Ninja Warrior Gym, and it's like the first time through, like I'm sure both of us could quite comfortably get from start to finish without an issue.
Yeah, but it looks
but
ugly,
the more you do it, the smoother it gets, the better transitions.
Yeah.
That's when knowing the course in advance is a really, really big deal, because you can't just go from one to the next. And like you say, it's like generally, where do you go and train that?
Yeah. I've been trying to get to that habit more with bouldering. Just like if I do a boulder, like I flash it, I do it first time. It may not be pretty, but then I have to I try and get to a habit of then going and doing it again, but trying to do it better, because then that's how you actually learn.
Well, that's just
like,
repetition builds muscle memory.
Rep it out and like actually figure out, okay, I've done it, but then now what's the best way to do it? And like, how can I do it better?
Yeah, I think as well with a lot of things is once you've done it, it might not be pretty, but you've done it. You know you can do it. Now it is just a case of finessing it and refining it, and just like say, just getting it smoother, building the time, those kind of things. It's again, I always kind of go back to running, but it's like people always use like 20 minutes for their 5K. It's like, I've got to get down to 20 minutes. I've got to do a 20 minute 5K. It might take them like 2 years to get to that 20-minute 5K. But once they've got there once, it might have nearly killed them. That's probably the first of many. Yeah, because all you sometimes have to do is just break that seal. It doesn't need to be pretty. You just got to get there. And then, like you say, you just refine it and you refine it. Great example is that like Monday when we went surfing. It's the first time that I've been surfing in quite a while. And it's like, yeah, the first 20 minutes is just ugly. It's like getting up, doing all the things I needed to do, but it's just not pretty. But then you spend the next hour just making it prettier, making it better, make it more elegant, going that little bit further each time, and that kind of thing. And I think that is just the key thing with kind of anything. I always go back to it. It's just that consistency. Sometimes it's consistency over an hour, a week, a year, 5 years, whatever it might be. But there were like people there that we could see were just getting really, really frustrated in their first 5 minutes, and it's like, boom, that's it, I'm done. It's like, well, perhaps if you maybe stuck at that for the next hour, you would took the frustration out of it and just started to enjoy it a little bit and just try to stay consistent for the next 50 minutes or so. You'll progress from falling off after 3 seconds to maybe falling off after 10 seconds, but that's a progression. Right?
Yeah. It's like the old 4 minute mile, philosophy thing. Like the first guy to do everyone said like, the 4 minute mile was impossible. And then the guy did it was in the 1920s, the British guy or whatever. And then after that, everyone started doing it.
Yeah.
So
once
it's one of those things sometimes
possible.
Once something's proven is possible, it just kind of breaks that seal. And then, I'm sure it didn't look pretty when he did it. And there's plenty of people now who could do a 4 minute mile pretty comfortably.
Very much so,
very much so comfortably. But it's just a question of like, someone needs to, even like obviously internally with yourself, that can apply to just, getting over that kind of awkward little period.
It's a massive thing. I think once something's proven as possible, that's it. It probably does come down to a mental thing a little bit, where people are like, there's no way you can run 4 minutes in a mile. That's it. And people would have just been telling everyone that you can't do it, it's impossible. Well, it's been done, and that's it. And then exactly like you say, since then it's been done hundreds of. I mean, like in well, I'm sure it's the same in the UK, but obviously in the US, where they have like these kind of high school running programs and scholarships, there's like 15, 16-year-olds smashing 4 minute miles and stuff like this. It's just obscene. And so now it's doable on a daily basis. Whereas, like, hey, the best part of 100 years ago, it was unthinkable until one person did it. And that's what's going to continue to happen, is that people, I mean, there obviously is going to be a physical limit. Like, you're not going to run a mile in like 30 seconds. However, there's always going to be that chance for progression. So, for example, right back what we were saying at the beginning there is that the harder something becomes, or the longer someone's been doing it, the smaller that progression is. So I don't know off the top of my head what the fastest mile time is. It's obviously 3 something. For that record to get broken now, you are going to be talking tenths of a second. You're going to be talking like these minute numbers, which is where the tracking is really, really super important.
The world record is 3:43.
3:43. Yeah.
I thought it'd be less than that. Not gonna lie.
Easily
I know that it's still fast. I just thought, I don't know, like I just thought after like 100 years it would be like knocked off by maybe 30 seconds or something.
But that's the key thing, is that the percentages become so much smaller.
Yeah, it's tiny. It's like it's this. Yeah, I guess it's the same with 100-meter time, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Like that's 10 like hundredths of a second in difference.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And of course, with professional sports like that, as the technology gets better, like those percentages can be measured more accurately. But then let's just apply that to your own training. It's like that's where the same thing is just really, really important, is to understand that your gains are going to be 1 kilo at a time, 0.5 of a kilo, 0.25 of a kilo at a time, whatever it might be. It might be I spent 6 months doing 10 pull-ups, and I plateaued at that. I made an adjustment to my training, now I can do 12. It's like that's a progression. It might have taken you no time at all to get to those 10, but then you got stuck at 10 for ages, and then it took you 6 months to get to 12. But that's how your progression is going to work. Well, let's now look at over the next 4 or 5 months to get to 14. And it almost becomes baby steps the longer you've been doing something.
I think it's funny actually, because I've been having this conversation with someone in the gym recently, and it's like they've been, trying to lose weight and stuff, and they've lost a hell of a lot so far, but now they're like at that point where they've got to lose like the last kilo, and it's like the hardest bit to do. Like once you get down to that last kilo, it's harder than the first 10.
100%.
It takes longer. It requires a little bit more restriction, a little bit more control, and it's like this is where a lot of people would then give up. That's the thing. People get to like a point and they think, oh fuck this, I can't be arsed with this anymore, so they give up, or they hit like a bit of a wall with it, and they just kind of there's always that choice in those times when it's like, oh, do I just carry on and just work through it, or do I just leave it?
It's a funny one, because like that kind of, there's always going to be that last kilo, or that next 5 seconds, or that next 2 kilos on my deadlift, or whatever it might be. There's always going to be that. Whenever people, I think it's just human nature that whenever we hit a goal, we move the goalposts on ourselves slightly. And I was really interested the other day, I was reading an article about this, and it actually talks about kind of like, and they used the last kilo as an example, and it's kind of like, how much happier would some people be if they got to that point when they need to lose that last kilo, and then they maintain that, and they led this kind of happy, balanced life at that point of always needing to kind of like shift that last kilo, as opposed to like the actual amount of effort it would take to lose that, and the amount of dedication it would take to lose that last kilo. And they're talking about the balance between the two things, as in, instead of just dropping off and giving up because you couldn't lose that last kilo, just sit there and think, well, I'm happy at this point, where how much better is my life going to be if I shift that last kilo? It's like, is the I don't know if miserableness is the right word, but the hard work and the stress that I'm going to put myself through, and the mental pressure I'm going to put myself through to shift that last kilo, why don't I just sit here and just enjoy the journey I've done so far and learn to maintain this? And I thought it was a really, really interesting point about trying to find that balance between putting undue pressure on yourself and then potentially failing to lose that last kilo and then just completely falling off of the wagon, or just enjoying the journey of sitting there, always knowing that maybe you could lose that last kilo. And do you know what? If you gain a kilo the other way, big deal. Like you're already in such a better space than where you started. And I thought it was just like a really kind of interesting point.
Yeah. I think this is what I was thinking about this in the car yesterday on the way to the gym, actually. Like, progress is very much not generally like that. It's generally like this. Like, it's generally, there's always going to be peaks and troughs. But it's how you handle the trough part of it that's going to then determine if you carry on going. So it's 100%. Like, progression is never linear. Like, it never is. There's always going to be like times where, like, the last week or so, I got bad elbows, I had to take some time off. Like, your shoulder might go for a week or two. Like, there's always going to be times where, like, it goes up and down. Yeah, you might lose a couple of kilos on a lift that you're doing, but like, it's just the way it is. And it's just like, there's no reason to just dwell on it too much. And I think the more you get into I mean, we can always, like, even now, like, I'll get like, oh shit, I'm going to lose strength in my pull-ups. Like, I've just been working they've been going so well recently, and oh shit, like, it's going to get, but it's just like, oh come on, like, it's not going to suddenly, all my progress I mean is just going to suddenly go out the window. I just need to, for the better myself, I just need to take it easy and just work it back in.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's like, it's that kind of thing where people are sort of like, I don't know, like, if I go on holiday or Christmas and things like that, where I'm like, I just want to ease off for a week, I want to enjoy myself. I purposely, if I go on holiday anywhere, unless I was going traveling for like 2 months or something like that, but if I was going on holiday for a week or even 2 weeks, it's like, I I don't care about exercise. I just want to go there, have that break, and enjoy things. And people are, you're not concerned that you're going to get slower or you're going to lose strength and all that. It's like I've trained consistently for 50 weeks of the year. Do you honestly think that this 1 week or this 2 weeks is going to undo 50 weeks plus all the history before that? It's just going to put me back to the beginning of having never trained or never worked out again. Of course it's not. And the other thing is that it's really, really easy other side. So let's say I take 2 weeks off and I might feel a little bit softer, and you know what? No one's going to notice that, but I might feel a little bit sluggish or a little bit weaker the first time I go back into the gym. Or do you know what? That first run might be a little bit creaky. You can guarantee that the second, the third, the fourth, literally a week later, they're going to be gliding. They're going to be so smooth. It does not take that long. And I think there's kind of like these general rules around these sort of things. And I'm not going to try and say them now because I'm going to kind of get them wrong without looking them up, about how long it would take to lose fitness and then obviously kind of get yourself back to where you were. It's so tiny. It's absolutely minuscule. You're not, I've taken a day off training. That's it. My cardiovascular output's gone out the window. I've taken a day off training. It's like my deadlift's just dropped by 20%. That's literally not how these things work. And I think sometimes it's like, it's really, really good for you. If you've taken like a forced break off of something, let's say you want to take a break, you're just feeling tired and fatigued from it all, you want to take a week off, or you've gone on holiday or whatever it is. For most people who have been consistent for those 50 weeks, it's like they are going to be so desperate that next Monday morning to get back in the gym that they are just going to go in there and smash it anyway. It's like you're going to be hungry for that week of training. And you know what? You might even go in there and surprise yourself anyway. It's like 1 week just does not do the damage that people think it's going to do. Now, if 1 week turns into 1 month, turns into 6 months, that's
there is obviously there's a difference with that. There's no way I'm like as good of a runner as I was when I was actually running. I haven't run for ages, so there's no way I'd go back and be able to just go do a 10k easy like I could before. There's no way.
Absolutely.
I understand that. Yeah.
And that's the thing, and I think that's the key point there, is that you know that you've got that expectation. You know that you can do that, but it's going to take you longer than a week to be able to do that. But you know that if you put the effort into it and the training, you do the right things, that you can actually get back to that point again. And I think that's the key thing. It's like, again, we'll stick with running. Let's say I decide to take 6 months off of running for whatever reason. In 6 months' time, I'm not going to go out there and day one blast my 5k. There you go, got a PR, done it. Didn't even need to train, because that is just simply not how it's going to work. But I know that after, let's say, 5 or 6 months of consistent training and doing all of the right things, I can be back to where I was quite easily. And that's the key thing. It's just understanding I've taken a break. It's just going to take a little bit of time to get back to where I was. Unless I completely shift my focus from running to strength, and all I did was strength. Well, of course, my running is going to drop, but my strength numbers are going to go up. But again, that would be expected, and I understand that as an expectation. Is when people just get hung up on the point that it's like, right, I'm an 18-minute 5k, I'm always going to be an 18-minute 5k. It's like, well, you aren't. It's like you're only going to be an 18-minute 5k if you train to be an 18-minute 5k, for example. It's I think the key thing is exactly like we've kind of already touched on, is just understanding what happens when you shift your focus, or when you take some time off, or when you don't quite make it to that last K. And you know, all of those things are okay. Like that's the key thing here, is that it's okay to not be an 18-minute 5k anymore. It's okay not to be able to lift your PR every single time you go to the gym or whatever it might be. That's absolutely fine. It's like the key thing here is that you're just consistently going to the gym, you're just consistently running, you're keeping yourself healthy, which is probably overall way more important than getting hung up on that one number of hitting the 18-minute 5k, for example.
Yeah, I don't know if I've done this analogy on the pod before, but the best analogy I've ever heard of this is someone in the gym actually told me this. Progress is like hacking down a jungle, but then regaining it is like walking back the path. So you've already done the hacking part, so you still got to make the journey, but you just got to walk it. I was like, that just perfectly summarizes it, really. It
sums it up. Yeah, it said it a lot better than I did. So in
a short phrase, that's how it is.
Yeah,
but I think that's yeah, I think that's a good place to leave that. I think.
I have one more thing to say to you.
All right, hit me up. Yeah, let's go.
I was running past the leisure centre the other day, and I went round the back to cut up into the fields behind to run some hill trails. There's a climbing wall out there, isn't there?
There is a climbing wall around there. Yeah, it's
like,
nuts.
What is that? It looks like it was built in like 1970s Russia.
Oh, yeah, mate. It hasn't been used in, I don't even know, like 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
It's sick though, isn't it? God, you have no idea the temptation.
Yeah,
honestly. Like just to go around there and just climb up that wall.
I was tempted to hop the wall and go and have a quick blast.
The fence and just have a crack. Yeah. Oh mate, no, I'd love to. Yeah, that would be seamless.
It's just this big concrete monolith of a wall.
Yeah, it looks like a piece of piss to climb. So but I just don't know about the structural integrity of some of it now. But it's a weird wall. But yeah, cool man. Nice. Sweet.